So one thing I want to do is push this edge up and define. This just kind of melts off. It's kind of undefined at this point. And I believe that when I was putting that darkness there, I may have encroached just a little bit on top. Now, I am drawing face down, and I'm looking at this sphere from an angle. And so some distortion is going to happen because of perspective. So I actually got up and walked around and looked at it from the other side of the table, and I saw that this had actually, that this adjustment needed to be made. But when I sit back down here in my chair and I look at it, it looks fine. Oh, actually, that looks way better. So maybe I didn't think it looked fine. I don't know. But so ways you can handle that. And I'm actually looking down at this because of the type of tripod that I have. And usually when I draw, I like to have it, you want it to keep it directly across from you. And you want to make sure that it's actually absolutely 90 degrees. So you can judge those distances. If not, if you want to draw on a table, make sure you walk around and look at it from every angle, and make sure that you keep your reference material there too. And so you can see these tiny little things. Now what I need to do is, let's see if I can get my H pencil here. Get this sharpened and ready to go. So this is an H, not a 2H. It's a little bit darker. Decide to raise that up just a little bit up here. Yeah. need to control this area here a little bit more. It's encroaches out a little too fast and it's a little too undefined. And this is too. Just remove some of this, being very gentle. I'm actually laying down and using this side here, which is removing a bit more, rather than taking this and just kind of going stippling. I want this to be as even as I can make it. Just whispering over this, just whispering, hardly touching. This shadow I feel got a little bit too and I'm hardly touching the paper at all. I'm just, and my eyes are working at the same time. It's like my eyes in my hand and everything. It's like I'm in a state of hyper awareness when I'm working on something like this. Meditation, you know, will really help. Really helps with that. You know, and this music helps too. Sometimes I like quiet, sometimes I like to listen to music. I live in the area where the birds are just constantly singing, so sometimes I like to listen to the birds. Sometimes I can listen to audiobooks, but sometimes I find them really distracting. I certainly can't listen to them at the beginning of a project, you know, because I'm trying to get the ball rolling. There's a terrible pun. But sometimes when a project is underway, I'll turn on an audiobook if I'm working on something that doesn't require a ton of focus. If I'm not careful though, an hour can go by and I won't hear a word of what the narrator is saying because I'm just off somewhere. And this may sound a little funny, but it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like I'm there. It's like I can actually feel the sphere, you know? Clean up this edge a little bit here. You know, when you're drawing, you're juggling so many things. You're juggling shapes, values, transitions, pressure of the pencil, right? You know, if you look at the principles and the elements of art, you're looking at least at like 15 different things, right? But the more you, in the beginning, it just feels really hard, right? But the more you practice, they do start coming together in your mind. I think relaxing is a huge, huge part of that. And being accepting of yourself and accepting of what's unfolding in front of you. You have to accept it. You know, even if, you know, if you see, don't just notice your mistakes. Sometimes people think that that's like, well, how am I going to get better? But if you're just fixated on your mistakes, how can you build from that place? How can you build just by noticing your mistakes? Be aware of what needs to be corrected, but you need to notice what's going well. Probably even more often. Because you can build on that. I think that's what helped me learn how to draw, was I just didn't see anything as a mistake when I was a kid. I saw everything as a huge experiment. So if I would, you know, when I draw, I go into just this very accepting place in my head. And so if I would make a mistake, you know, I would actually remember exactly how I made that mistake and go, oh, okay. So, and then I would link it back to when I was trying to get an effect in an earlier painting or a picture. And I'd be like, okay, so that's what happens when you do that. And that's really how you can accelerate. How you can accelerate everything. Remember, you don't want to keep going like this. There has to be some vertical lines in here too. And this area here looks a little weak to me. This is much more, this is a little weak. So what to do? I'm going to get my 2H. You don't want to rest on a really high B. When I first started drawing, I thought, well, all I really need is a high B, because all I have to do is push a little lighter, and then I can get a range of values. And that is certainly true. But if you're trying to get a more refined drawing, that isn't always the case, and you're going to end up with a very heavy, smeared look if you just use one very dark pencil. This area here isn't quite so dark. Now, when you blend something like this, you may find that it actually looks a little bit darker, right? And that's because you're covering the white of the paper. It's no longer going to sparkle as much as it did. Make sure as we get close to the sphere, this is a little bit more blended. This area here is not white. I'm seeing these little traces of that. This area right here could be a bit darker. It doesn't end so suddenly because it's right next to this shadow. We know that it's going to just kind of peel off. Back to my dark 9B. I want to, oops. I want to make this kind of hard right here. Then as it comes off here, it's gonna soften out. Remember, by changing direction of your pencil strokes, you're going to really cover that page much more. I'm actually going to get my F for this ring. hope you can see by now that I can just keep going and going and going and refining and refining. That's not my goal for this video, however. Not for this lesson. Maybe for a future lesson. We'll see. I like the combination of the grittiness here and the smoothness here, right? So you may find that when you work from your computer screen, the way I am, you need to be aware that the materials you're using for your drawing are extremely and fundamentally different than what you are copying. My point is, the iPad, this image is made with light, okay? So it's never going to be as brilliant as this, okay? I hope you can understand that. I'm using pencil lead here, and we're relying on the white of the paper to kind of shine through and give it that glow. But in the end, this is always going to be brighter because it's made of light, right? So that's something to consider. So it might be better to make the white of the paper look brighter to tone everything else down a little bit. Okay, so you can see how I made the background a little bit darker than this background. Okay, and that's what that's going to do, is it's going to make the white of the paper look brighter. Let me get this a little halo here. And also, the roughness of this will make this look smoother, right? So you can understanding the limitations of your materials is always and make them work for you, right? You have to take lemons and make lemonade. I'm just smoothing this out a little bit. This bleed down a little bit more gradually here. you can see that my treatment of the background is a little bit rougher, except when I get close to the sphere. It's a little bit rougher. Okay, it's a lot rougher than this very careful shading that's going on here. Once again, you have to have contrast. Sometimes little things happen that I like you can see that there's just a little bit of white right here, right next to this dark. And I like that. It just gives it a little pop of space right there. It's not here, but by having it here, it definitely helps. You can kind of see that right in here too. All of a sudden it gets just a little bit brighter right there. And it just makes it pop. Let me get my 9B here, and we're going to work really darkening this. Making it as dark as the shadow, actually. I don't know. Oh, that might have gotten a little too heavy, actually. Okay, that's it for this video.